Excellent.
Okay, let her rip.
Thank you very much.
I didn't know if you wanted.
That's okay. Something I'd like to.
So, we're gonna call the, June 21st, 2023, meeting to order. And you start calling the meeting to order, and do we establish the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. So do I read through it?
You don't necessarily need to, just need a motion.
Have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to, what do we move on to, the treasurer's report?
Meeting minutes.
Oh, meeting minutes,
And
okay.
it's an addition. I thank you, Julie. I actually did miss the June minutes, or sorry, the May minutes. So it'll be May 17th and June 9th that were attached.
So do I have a motion to accept and approve June 9th meeting minutes? Is that what we're looking at?
May 17th.
Or May
and-
17th
May
minutes?
17th and June 9th.
And June 9th minutes?
Do that in both, make a motion to approve both of them?
Yep, you can.
Do we have a
Right.
second?
Second.
Yes.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
I'll go ahead and move to the treasurer's report.
Yeah.
So approval of the financials. Do you want me to read through it, Michael?
Yeah, you sure can.
Okay, so the assets were 76,269.87. Deposits of 400. Payments of $1,166.01. The Minnesota deed revolving loan fund is at 24,712.62. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And then what do we just move on to?
Can I just
items?
make a really
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Actually, no, it's B on here. Never mind. We'll go, keep going. So item A on your agenda, just so everyone is aware. I did submit an application for the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation for REV. REV is about connecting entrepreneurs to our community, how to handle them better when it comes to given us in Fairfax. And it also has a component of visioning about what are we going to do with the school when the school is no longer here? How do we want to develop? I think the EDA can have some part in that, and they're going to need a grounding spot, but eventually we're probably going to have a bigger committee. So I started this process, just so you guys know, in Mapleton over 5 years ago. We were the second cohort to go through. In Mapleton, we did 4 communities. And at first we thought that this was going to come with like a lot of money and resources. And lo and behold, there was no money. It was all about teaching and training people how to do economic development. Building blocks of economic development. Like when we went down to Mankato and they talked about retention and succession planning, those are the things that REV is going to connect us to. So it's more about long-term growth rather than one injection of money and then watch it go away. So within that process, I don't know if we'll be selected or not, but I will tell you that Pam Bishop, the vice president of Smith, did reach back out to me after I attended the conference, and she's like, "Are you guys going to do it? I think you'd be a really good candidate." So in the application, I talked about the new school being built, about the businesses and our lack of succession planning, about how we need to figure out how to attract businesses. And so hopefully we're in the running for that. I think it would be really good for all 3 communities to be involved in this process. That does not necessarily mean that they, are all gonna be at the same part. I think what we learned from Mapleton is every community needs to have kind of their own subcommittee. So if we have 6 from here, 6 from Gibbon, 6 from Fairfax, maybe they're all learning the same thing, but they're dealing with different things. Like, Gibbon maybe is dealing with selection of a new school spot. Winthrop's dealing with how do we attract new housing, new families? How do we get PMOs back open? How do we find someone to take over Hans? So those types of things could be different from community to community, but overall learning and teachings are going to be parallel between the communities.
When do you find out?
I knew you were going to ask that. It is in August, I believe. They pick in August. The applications are due. Ours is already in. Applications are due on the 23rd. And I talked to Pam last week. She didn't have very many applications, or it didn't sound like they had very many applications. So the other good thing is Compeer Financial is actually helping sponsor Rev now. So there's a few extra nuggets of money to hold. Food brings people in. So if it means having food at like a visioning session and getting the community involved and letting them know, that'll kind of help.
I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Hopeful. I think it'd be a really good thing.
And it's outside experts giving us help and advice and coaching us through that process of, hey, you've done it this way 30 years and maybe it wasn't the best way. Here's some new ways that you can look
And
at
now
it.
we have a bigger budget. Figure out how we want to use that.
Yeah,
When did the budget increase? By the way, I was wondering that.
in 2022.
It went from like 10,000 to this. or-
Yes. Technically, the city had always given money to the EDA through my wage.
Yeah. Yeah, someone on council who didn't think, suddenly said we can't fund the EDA at the level we had been, so.
But you can.
Then we changed it back.
Oh, gotcha.
Research the state statutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just curious.
The financial system update is I don't know how to start this. So obviously we have a new financial system. It's going smashingly, except they kind of screwed up the EDA when they ported it over. They didn't give us a receivables account on the EDA side, so I can't write bills. Now we ordered checks so that it's no longer handwritten checks. So we've got all that figured out, but they're working on correcting the backside of it. So like I can input bills, but I can't, I can deposit, I can input bills. I just can't do anything reporting. So there's something wrong on the back end. So that's why you guys are still seeing like the actual bank statements because I want to give you something. But that will hopefully, we're working on that Thursday, Friday, this week to get them corrected because I would like to print out checks.
Has that company been pretty good?
Yes,
Mistakes,
very responsive
okay.
and, like I had troubles this morning. I screwed up an account. It was my fault. I made their water meter disappear and I didn't know how to get back. The resident should be super happy, but so I emailed one of our trainers and she was on the phone with me within like 10 minutes. So, it's been really good, but it's just been it's all encompassing. So you guys will see new reporting hopefully next month. We're gonna give it a good time. So.
All right.
Mike, I'll just keep going.
We're good, yep.
The Smith grant, so a long time ago in a land far away, we applied for a grant through the Paint the Town something or other through Smith. And Smith it was fall of last year, had called me and said, hey, why haven't you put a mural up? And I said, what mural are you talking about? And then I think Doug Hansen gave me more updates and information about, so I did know about the paint. I knew we had collected paint. I thought I don't know what I thought. I just thought that it was like they donated paint and then it was good to go.
Yeah.
It's not. They want to see like a picture of the mural. So if you remember a couple months ago, I kind of hired is probably a strong word. I inquired about some artists that I knew. They're willing to do it. They ordered some supplies. I paid for those out of pocket on Saturday. So I'll ask for reimbursement of that. But Smith got on the phone with me last week and just said, look, you gotta paint something, take a picture of it and finish this report because it's almost 2 years late.
Yeah.
So we're working on that, but I wanted to give you an update on that. It just kind of fell in my lap weird. So now that we have an artist and they have supplies, hopefully they'll paint that sucker and we'll put it on the wall and get it done.
Where is it going?
The Lace Fit building on the Honeybee Heights thing.
Okay.
The north side. Where that, where that one is right now, kind of that sign is there now, I believe, right? That
No,
sign
this one is gonna be in Honeybee Heights on the south side.
On the south side.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But they do, Lacey would like another one on the north side.
More visible, yeah, I said.
Sure.
So,
Do we have a paint?
no, I bought paints and other various materials. And we did reach out to the high school. I should probably tell you that. We did reach out to the high school at the beginning of the year, asked them if they'd be interested. There was a lot of energy of yes, we're interested. And then a lot of interested, no, we have too much going on, which, yeah, those kids are so busy.
Right.
So, so that's kind of where we're at with this Smith grant. Hopefully next month I can say it's done and over with and we have hung it. That's kind of where I want to go with it.
Great.
Oh, it's like some kind of canvas thing. They're not painting it on the brick.
So the brick is very porous and they are afraid it would just look
Fade away.
really crappy and fade. So they are putting it on it's like a metal sheet.
Oh, okay.
And then they paint the metal.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
We have website ones?
Yeah, okay, so we're redoing, I should pull it up. Dave, you're gonna disappear for a little bit. We're redoing the website, and we currently host 3 different sites on the same one, right? So we have the City of Winthrop, which has all the mumbo jumbo stuff, the City of Winthrop, and then we have the EDA. The EDA website, I just think I'm just looking for, do we want to keep it kind of the same? Do we want to change it? What do we want to have on this website?
I think if we get in as part of rep and have more of a plan of what we're doing, whatever we do figure out, some of that or a lot of that would be applicable to the website possibly.
If I keep all of that off.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, for right now, if we got rid of some of it. The weird thing is like, you know, if I was a corporation and I was looking at this website, or if I was even a young entrepreneur, you know, we have rail here. You know, what water mains, the zoning map isn't on here. Just that kind of stuff, I think should be added. This site, actually, I don't have anything listed on here anymore because we have sold the Bauer building and a couple others. So I don't have anything on there right now. There are a couple sites for sale. But I think, you know, I think we can expand some of this and, oh, there's the railroad and high gauge service. Maybe we should highlight that a little bit
Yeah.
differently.
I think so.
Can we
But-
put, Can we put something on there, like in the bottom line, that's very generic and say, if you have any ideas or suggestions, please bring them forward? I don't know how you'd word it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, almost like a query, like saying, I have stuff
Cause if you had somebody
new or,
new or, you know, a resident who clicked on that tab and said, well, you know, hey, I think we
Yeah. Yeah.
need this, or we should try that.
What about adding like specific things like, say we offer that technology grant, here's how you get it.
Yep.
Or some of those specific things,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't know what the EDA does at
That's
all.
Very
They
true.
have no idea. So if we could at least get them here, because I'm sure about nobody looks at this website. You know?
yeah,
If people know about the website and then the website explains, hey, we have this technology grant, or hey, we do these kind of loans or grants, or yeah,
So are we just
specific
updating
things we
this
can help people with.
with the same company, or are we switching?
no, I switched the company because the other company never gets back to me.
Too bad.
The back end of this website is so hard to edit.
Mhm.
And I asked, I think last year they did some work on updating the logos and stuff, and that took almost 6 months.
These. That's
And
some kind
I
of
finished
WordPress
it.
deal.
It's really bad WordPress. Like,
Oh.
it's like,
Because I know there's a lot of.
it's like the first generation of
Oh.
WordPress. It's really bad now. So I asked them to update that, and they said they couldn't based on the platform.
Oh.
And they asked for $50,000 to redo the website. And
I know
said,
there's
"No, thank you."
services where you can make your own websites and they look really nice
Right.
and they're really easy to edit and stuff.
Yeah, these are,
Especially
I can show you. On the backside, this is what all the pages look like. Dave, I know you can't see this, but
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't look fun.
so this is the easy one where they have like elements and whatever and containers, but you know, when you get down to editing text, it's like, this is both sides of the page.
Not very intuitive or.
It's not drop and go.
Yeah. When was this website built?
This website was in 2011, I think is when they started it,
Yeah.
according to Google. And then they updated it in like 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not that. Maybe we just did a major upgrade then, that might be it.
Winthrop Opportunities also has stuff on here. Is that something we want to continue?
I think so. I think why not?
We should probably update that.
Cause that is not directly part of EDA, but it is an EDA tool.
It's worth promoting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know what the portal is. What is a portal? Oh, we just go back to here.
Oh,
Okay, well, that's something we can fix. I will warn you, when I gave the specifics, right now, the company that we hired is basically copying over every line of code of the website. So they can start manipulating and editing it and putting it in a program called Elementor. It's just easier drag and drop type website building. So we will be able to update this a lot easier, but I also think that it's really hard for people to find things on here because you just keep scrolling and scrolling
yeah.
and scrolling. And even like, you know, on the city side of things, on the bottom portion, you know, there's a lot of good information on here, but this is where like we have a lot of things that people need, but they can never find them. And then there's another section with news and announcements. And then this community calendar, there's actually 3 community calendars on this website. And every time I update it, I have to figure out which one is which because they all look identical with the icons. And that's annoying. So, I want one community calendar that people can input dates onto
Mhm.
so that people know what's going on in the community. So they have one resource to go to. then we can take that calendar and throw it at the newspaper and put it in the newspaper every month. So,
Great idea.
yeah. So anyway, so when you're thinking about the website, because I know everyone thinks about the website every day, think about what we want to do with it and how we want to enhance it. You know, if you're bumbling along on different websites and you're like, man, ours should have that, or why doesn't it have our biggest employers, or you know, what can we do to enhance that? I know the chamber is going to go through the same phase. Their chamber directory right now, I can't edit it. It is some mumbo jumbo. I can't. So every time they ask me to change something, I'm like, I will email them and it'll be changed in about a month. So I think that Adam has put together, the guy that we hired, put together some recent websites with New All Meeting and Mankato. And it'll look a little bit differently, more intuitive. You know, try to highlight some of our service businesses like Tank Bay and Hans and the drive-in. But right now it's the chamber side of that web page is really hard to read. It's really hard to navigate.
I think one of the main things is to make sure that the people know if they can't find their way through it, to please come forward and ask, and we will go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once we do some of this vision planning, yeah, just the most prominent thing I think should be just blasting out more aggressively. This is how we can help you.
Mhm.
You have an idea or a current business or anything. Here's what we do. We want to help you.
Mhm.
We'll be willing to fine tune something.
Yeah. Okay, we can definitely do that. The last item is the budget.
Take all we can get, we'll spend it.
We can spend it. So I gave you 2023, 22 on one page, and then the 2024 budget proposal on the other. We can always bring this back next month if we feel like we need a bigger crowd. So last year we asked for a combined $57,000 from Winthrop City Council to fund our activities. We actually received a little bit more than that because we had sale of property and sale of buildings this last year. So we were a little bit more flush than we normally are. We put some money towards the technology and advertising grants last year. Obviously, we doubled that because of the sale of building. We were allowed to do that. We actually spent over $10,000 on technology grants this year. Special building projects, that $35,000 that we put in, that category actually went through the Bauer building as a grant to fix up the Bauer building. Our advertisement budget, I just ran numbers. Right now, we're about halfway through that budget, about $3,500 for 2023. And that's Winthrop Market and Facebook and Connect Magazine. Membership, that has Winthrop Opportunities, Chamber, newspapers, those types of things. Excuse me, very hoarse. I don't know what happened. Contractual lease agreements. So that is like our lawyer fees. We can probably downgrade a little bit of that. We didn't spend nearly as much, but we did this year take out some dollars for, like, we have EDA properties that we were shoveling with snow, and we paid the city back for that, for services. You know, it felt like the right thing to do. So that's kind of the budget in a nutshell, but we can do whatever you want. That's the fun thing about every budget season. It can be different. The total budget and revenue investment, that we actually received last year was 71,000 from the city. Lease, we took in about $2,400 on lease, and loan payments about 6,500 is what we were expecting. We haven't taken in nearly that amount. So, I guess we can go through line items. The facade granting program, do we want to
That's what I was gonna
talk about a facade grantor program?
Because a facade grant program at $3,000 is why
Is
have it,
nothing.
why have it there.
Yes,
Did we do anything with it this year?
we put it towards the technology and advertising grant.
Oh, okay.
That's where we stuck that money.
Because, yeah, like with the Second Street project, if we want to revitalize the downtown, that's gonna take some real money, which I think could possibly be something we want to look at.
Yeah.
Good point.
I'm just thinking, doing a lot of driving lately, back and forth to Alexandria.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, how are these little towns? I mean, they look very nice. Like when you go through Litchfield, you're going through even Belgrade, who's 700 people, and even was it Bruton, in Painesville. But the thing that I can't put my arms around is, their major highway looks twice as wide as ours as you come through Winthrop here. Did they just knock down every house on Main Street? And I mean, they got turning lanes and the trucks can get through, and they got plenty of parking on the main drag of the highway, and is it just because of how they developed this area years ago that we don't have that room? But I mean, like you go through, Litchfield and stuff like that, you can park right on, Meeker County, the county office is right there. And I mean, you got parking on both sides, plus you got a turning lane. And I was just wondering, how does that affect, our night? I know this is a whole different discussion, but I'm just totally amazed at how they've been able to.
So
And
4th Street, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but that was never designated as a highway when it was built. 4th Street was a residential, normal street until 1953.
okay,
And that's when things really, this is just my opinion, that's really when Winthrop changed, is in like that 53 era. That's when a lot of the downtown changed to angled parking, and the streetlights went up. Those green streetlights are from 1953.
okay,
I found the receipt for them. Thank you, Sam Schultz. So the highway used to go around Winthrop. There was a trellis that came kind of in town to Renville. So that's why that street is really wide, because that was, developed as a commercial. But everything else was just very small residential streets. And I think that includes 4th Street. I don't think it was ever intended to be used as a highway.
Yeah, and like Highway 15 going north used to go through Dassel, like downtown narrow streets. You
Yeah.
had to make a left turn through the downtown, and then, so,
I know we gotta, take small pieces at a time. I'm just kind of like what you were saying, like with the Second Street project and stuff, I guess I'm gonna rely heavily on Michael, like, okay, what, what do we want it to look like?
Yeah.
And what do we want it to seem fresh? And like you said, like when I drive through that, I go, oh, I wouldn't mind stopping here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, so how do I help get us there? You know what I mean? What's that step,
Make it a unique
Yeah,
vibe.
right.
well, how do you get people to even look to the downtown area when
Right.
they just go through on the highway?
I think that happens in 2028
Okay,
when they come through and they're gonna gut 4th Street. I mean,
Okay.
they're gonna go really deep. I mean, they're gonna be 20, 30 feet deep. They're gonna take all the old infrastructure out And what MnDOT is planning right now is that that project will mimic Second Street,
Okay,
ideally. So they're gonna take some of the same principles that we're using on Second Street, minus a lot of the bump outs, because it's already really narrow, and put them on Fourth. The engineer, Peter, when we talked to him about Second Street, he's like, well, we don't even need to vision Fourth Street then. We can just take your concept and double it. So there's a few things to that. I think then we have to follow up as a city and say Main Street has got to lead them downtown, because that used to be the highway.
Yeah.
I know people forget about that, but Second Street was the highway connection. And that's why it was
Yeah.
a bustling,
right.
but now it's so off the beaten path, people don't even know it's there. So I think we have to mimic and make it look good,
Yeah,
but then we also need signing.
right.
And I am not making fun of anyone here, but I thought the chamber was going to make signing that was going to lead downtown. But I don't know what happened to that. I haven't been to a chamber meeting in a
The
while.
thing they've always run into is the MnDOT restrictions and where you can put signs and
Yeah.
how you can put them.
If we follow the lines, we can put it wherever we want.
Well, yes. Yes.
Well, and I gave them, so there's a company that deals with all the signs, right? MnDOT doesn't put them up, the sign company does, and then you have to pay a lease agreement and
Oh,
blah, blah, blah. And I gave that information to the chamber probably a year ago. And it's an application, and honestly, if you go through that company, MnDOT allows whatever you want.
I suppose because they know how to
Yep.
work with them.
So do you want me to take into that and get, it's expensive. I mean, it's gonna have to come out of a budget somewhere,
Yeah,
because it's an every year thing. And it's, I think per sign is like $800 to $1,200 every year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would just like to kind of have some guidance on which direction, you know what I mean?
yeah.
A more experienced person would have as far as how do we develop these areas, you know, so they look inviting where you like say, I want to stop and see what's going on down here, you know?
Yeah,
You know, like even when we went through Glenwood, you know what I mean? That,
Yeah,
you know, when that downtown area now, you know what I mean? Like, you would have never got me to stop to go walk through the Minnewaska patio thing or whatever, but I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'll just go check it out, you know?
yeah.
So,
I think more than anything, Winthrop needs wayfinding signs after we finish Second Street. I think, and I know people don't believe this, but I really do believe that when you create a space that people want to be,
Mhm.
people will be there. And if it's not there, they're not gonna stop.
you know, and I get frustrated because being in Winthrop as a business owner, living in Gaylord and listening to people whine in Gaylord about like the flower stuff, I'm like, it looks nice down there.
It does.
It does.
You know what I mean? I told myself, I said, this is what you're trying to strive for, that you got some, you know, most of the towns that I drive through have flowers up and somebody's out watering them. And like you said, people are walking with strollers with kids and, you know, on the sidewalks and downtown and shopping and
Yeah.
whatever. So I'm like, you know, but you just have such that part of the population that just doesn't want to give up a dime and doesn't think you got to spend anything and just automatically stuff happens, which it don't. You know, I'm trying to explain to them, you know, Winthrop's just going to keep shriveling up and shriveling up if you don't start
Yes.
spending money and making it look nice, you know?
what was the town?
Mayor, Minnesota?
No, you said they
Okay,
redid
right.
that dead end.
Yeah, Le Sewer.
The sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Le
Yeah,
Sewer redid
Yeah.
that end, and now
That's
it's
a good-
completely full.
good proof that they,
Did you guys see recently what Stillwater is doing?
I was there
I heard a
a
little
while
bit of it.
ago, but the stuff that they were doing down there was amazing too.
So Stillwater, I just want to show you because it is, so Stillwater a few years ago really started, and I would say, when I say a few, I mean, I'd like a decade ago, right? They started really going after,
as a destination.
as a destination, and I think it's this one. And what's really interesting is that they had a lot of naysayers. And why is that person on the cover? Maybe this isn't it.
It's an unofficial page, so.
Oh, I want the official page. Still. Oh, there it is. So, Stillwater, like a decade ago, chose that they were gonna be a more walkable, like, bike-friendly community. This is one of their new plazas, so they are spending 17 million, I think is what I heard. And notice that it is not car-friendly. What Stillwater has figured out is that cars don't spend money, people do. And if you give places where restaurants can expand into and seating places, this isn't finished obviously, but you can generate way more money.
You guys been to it's the old downtown of Omaha, Nebraska? That's
Yeah.
so cool with the cobblestone, and that's. all
And I'm not
just
saying we
walkable.
should eliminate all parking, that's not.
No,
I am not saying that at
walkability is a
all.
big thing.
But, you know, right now you go downtown and it is definitely built for cars. It doesn't feel safe. I mean,
You're not gonna hang out.
I walked one block to go read a meter that I messed up. And I mean, I almost got hit twice. It's one of those things where it just doesn't feel inviting. It doesn't look good, right?
Right.
You would never
Right.
stop and think, oh, this is gonna be a fun experience.
Right.
Henderson is a really good example too. They actually don't have very much walkability, but they have really worked on their
Really
appearance.
inviting.
Right.
And so those two elements are really important. But for us, we have to have wayfinding signs to downtown. Because you're not gonna pretty that up enough to make people wanna go.
So do you do the signs soon when we have Tinker, which I hope and better stay as it is. Hans is for sale, and do you invest in a sign that it's gonna change hands and change names or,
I think that's been the debate for so long.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
right?
I mean, I think you're gonna have to update it anyway,
True,
eventually.
true.
Yeah.
I just kind of, you and I talked on the side a little bit, I just feel so bad because I've been on here for 2 years and, like, I don't have a success story. You know what I mean? I don't have something to say, well, you got something accomplished here, Mike, you know what I mean? And maybe it's because I'm not working hard enough or doing hard enough, but, I'm like, okay, what can I actually wrap my hands around and what small piece of the puzzle can I make a difference in that I can handle? Because, my thing is not technology. My thing is not any of that stuff, but I'd love to try to figure out what we can start doing, to, like you said, start prettying up the town a little bit.
I think the facade grants would really help.
Well, do we just change, this year we focused on technology grants, maybe next year, and we sort of stole from the facade money and put it toward technology, maybe we just change our direction for 2024 and we're saying we're focusing on the facade grant.
And I'm not trying to, but I mean, do we go down as an EDA and say, these buildings need to go? We need to figure out if these ones are getting redone. We need some investor to come in here. Because when I was in Glenwood, I was talking to the bar owner over there, and across the street, one of the business owners, they were gonna try to redo it, but they just saw that the buildings could not handle it, and they're
Yeah.
gonna whack them down.
Yep.
And like you said, they're either gonna make open space, or they're gonna try to do something. And actually, one of the banks looked pretty nice, the old banks, but they said it shared a wall that they could not save.
Yeah, those shared walls are hard.
Yes, but anyway, I mean, it was like, they worked really hard to pinpoint, my opinion, which buildings are savable. And they can put apartments in or
Yeah,
some decent living up top, like they're doing in New Ulm. How can we fix up the bottom so they, like my building, the front, I mean, I'd like to get rid of that old red brick and make it look a little modern and get them stupid beer signs off the, you know what I mean, off
Yeah.
the walls, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that, just to jazz it up a little bit so it doesn't look like it's, like you said, 1952 again,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was long-term plan investing really heavily in the downtown. It's a great use of our money. I do.
But I've been trying to figure out, like, you know, like Michael said, like destinations, you know, like I get a lot of people that stop in because, you know, they're gonna go to New Ulm for the brewery to see Shells,
Yeah.
to go see Herman the German, to go see some little most historical stuff. So, you know, what does Winthrop have to offer that's,
Yeah, my wife was telling me that the other day. Cause she worked in New Ulm for a couple of years and she would be around, she was nannying kids. And she'd run into people at the parks. They'd be asking her, "Oh, do you live here?" "No." She works there, and they were just there for the day. She said all the time, people are just there for the day, and they'd be asking her, "Oh, where's Herman the German?" or this or that. That was exactly her point.
And I don't think you're never, I shouldn't say never. It's really hard to be a destination, but if we could be a layover,
right?
we could be, hey, you know, we were in Winthrop and man, that Tinker Bay had such a nice atmosphere. We loved being there. So we're gonna go back.
Well, like you said, you know, even if it's a stopping point between New Ulm and Hutch, you know what I mean? And like you said, oh, it's a nice little town to stop in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we gotta be realistic too. We're not gonna beat New Ulm.
Right, no,
Yeah.
no, you know,
But
but you guys gotta figure out what your niche is, you
Right.
know what I mean? What is it? You know what I mean? It's like my cousin, you know, they came and stayed with us for the weekend. He went over to Starbucks and I got pictures of him because he's by the Lefse house, you know, because our grandma used to make homemade Lefse.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got a couple little nice little areas in Starbucks that are kind of touristy,
Yeah.
you know, just to stop in, kind of like Laura Wilder Ingalls and
Walnut Grove.
Walnut Grove, which, you know what I mean? But they had a couple
Yeah.
little things. I mean, here he is standing by a sign, which I thought, my cousin is not going to be interested in none of that crap. So if a 55-year-old guy that really I thought had nobody, he saw that it left a sign, he said, I'm going to go take a picture and I'm going to go look through it.
Something unique.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you think once the mercantile gets going, I mean, things like that where people come to look at antiques or a quilt shop? I mean,
I think so.
those are the kinds of things.
Yeah, I
that
think you're right,
will draw
Julie,
people
because
into
that
town.
drives people in because like I said, I'm not one of those type of people, but my cousin and his wife, we had to stop at every rummage sale.
Yeah.
We had to stop at every antique store and secondhand store in that Glenwood area. And
There's a lot.
there's people that do, you know what I mean? Just because I'm not one of them. See, I'm
There's a
always
lot
one
of
of these
people that
guys.
do that, yeah.
I don't get it, but there's a lot of people do, and you gotta understand, there is a lot of people that like that stuff.
Yeah.
So we
Well,
have rehabs from the last backdoor hairstyling. I don't.
That was. Right,
And
right, right.
Sibley Interiors, I think that was the hardware store.
Hardware store, yeah.
I mean, they invested, the total project was 37,000. The owner had to put up about 11,000. And the SDDP, which I don't know what that stands for. I just know that it's the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership.
Yeah.
They put in $26,000. That was forgiven every
7 years?
7 or 10. There was 2 different programs.
Cause I got on that program too, from this, you know, when I redid the inside of when we got rid of all the old tile and put sheetrock and stuff in there.
Oh yeah, I might do it. Project was about 36,000.
Yeah, put a rooftop unit on.
Yeah, and so this is the same program that we're applying to in the spring.
Okay.
But I think that, you know, for appearance sake, it's really hard to fund those. Like, there's
Yeah.
not a government program that's gonna say, hey, we'll match your rehab.
Rehab, okay.
They do like long-term things, electrical, flooring, rooftop units, windows, siding sometimes.
Right. I'm just kind of wondering too, Michael, what have you seen like, I mean, is it big boy investors that are investing in these buildings and rehabbing them?
What did Stillwater do? Did they pay all the money? Where'd they get that money from?
Water problem.
They bonded.
They bonded, yeah.
Yeah. And they bring in so much.
They bring in tax
Tax
revenue.
Yeah.
Do they
So-
charge a sales tax just for the
They have
city?
this- Special
you
sales
betcha they
tax.
do.
Oh, yeah. They're just ringing in.
Mm.
You know, in Mankato, it's been a lot of big boy investment money.
Yeah,
New Ulm is the same way. There have been some EDA loans taken out. For some of them, Black Frost Distilling, Snow, whatever that one winery is. There's been some money given, but a lot of it's private investment.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, because, I mean, obviously, in these smaller communities, a lot of the smaller business owners aren't gonna touch that,
No, you're not gonna see a return on that. If you go, I'm gonna redo my facade, it's $75,000. That doesn't make sense for you to just do, especially if you're the only one doing it. It's gotta be the whole
So
picture, right?
Leighton, since you're the resident expert.
I am not an
If you-
expert on anything.
If we wanted to do a facade grant, and help businesses, maybe we can do 3 a year. Or whatever. How much would they need to, in every business, but like, okay, Winthrop News is a good example. Winthrop News' sign is falling down. How much would it take to get them a new sign and put that back up? Like, I have no idea. 5,000?
I'm not sure, cause that's all commercial stuff and that facade type stuff. We don't do that. I know it's a lot. And then if you're looking at brickwork and stuff like that, or
That's her point is.
or restoration of things, I'm not really sure, but I think we should how do we find that out?
But like you said, maybe that's something we could find out. Like you
Yeah.
said, that's something that maybe I could handle a part of, or you and I, or whoever, and say,
Yeah.
right, we're gonna go talk to these construction guys that do that, and we wanna do 3 a year. Can we do it?
Yeah, start to figure out what's
And how much-
realistic and how we can bring some vision to life.
And I mean, at least nothing else, take some pictures of the businesses downtown and say, what would it cost to redo this?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Who do that kind of work around here?
That's a good question.
I would have no
Maybe we should figure
idea.
out who did Patterson Diamonds in New Ulm. They just got done
Yeah.
redoing, and Christie, Inspired Downtown, the
Yeah.
retail
Yeah.
store just
Yeah.
redid theirs.
Didn't Patterson's have something, did something wrong and had to redo or?
I'm not gonna comment on record, but I hate historic preservation councils for that same reason. Unless they're gonna be there to fund it, they should just close their books, make recommendations and move on. Because I actually liked the original version versus what they did. And they allowed them, okay, so if you're a historic preservation council and you want things to look historic, are heavily tinted windows historic? No. Nope, they're not. Heavily tinted windows were never a thing.
No.
Windows were there so you could look into the building.
Right.
And what do they have on them? Like the darkest tint you can get on a window. So is that the goal? So I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. I'll get off my soapbox. But I could ask Christina who she had redo hers
Yeah.
and then give them a call from Inspired. I bet she would let me know.
I wouldn't mind, like I said, spending a afternoon meeting with, their guy or whatever that does their bids and say, hey, here's pictures of 4 businesses. What would it
What's
cost to
this take?
make them look?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are using, instead of redoing. Sure.
Takes 3. Pretty predictable.
A lot of people are not even doing tuck pointing, they're doing like that new vinyl or steel and just going over it because it's just so cost effective.
So how do you do that if you have a grant program? I would assume the business has to put in.
I would say at least 50%.
Yeah. Well, and this is where, I was hoping that when we were at that meeting in Mankato,
Yeah.
where we start working towards that. I'd really like that one town's idea where, hey, you're gonna get 25,000, but you gotta have 25,000. And we approve it and, and I think she said by the time they made sure that they went through the process of filling out the application and stuff, they never denied one.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody said they defaulted on it yet either, the way it sounded
It
either.
sounds that way, yeah. And I think people self-select or deselect if you make the application process detailed enough. Some people are smart enough to go, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't get qualified
I
for
had
this.
Blue Earth send me their application.
Oh, good,
It's very long.
good. Because honestly, that's something we need to, hindsight is 20/20,
Right.
but we need to do better than we did. with some of the loans we have out.
I think, are you gonna say something?
Yeah.
Oh, the Strong Towns Facebook page and YouTube channel, I know you follow them.
Yeah. I've
They
been
have-
looking at that too.
They have great ideas. They have a ton of ideas. I know, like, I'm just looking through that, like this one. This is even trying to think of like the very first steps of what we could do. Cause we're not gonna come in with $15 million and redo everything and put cobblestone down. That's not a real thing. But like, even like this, and I don't know if that looks any good or anything, but testing out maybe a little more walkable area.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that doesn't look that great, but
No.
I don't know,
Like,
there's
even
just
the
ideas.
crosswalks,
Yeah,
towns are painting their crosswalks and just doing it by themselves.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, some of these things don't have to be
huge investments.
huge investments.
Yeah,
It can be small things.
Mhm.
And I'm not so sure, like when I was in Glenwood going through there, they put out them pedestrian signs and stuff. I think they want you to slow down as much as possible to get you to look.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at what we're doing.
You know?
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
we're cruising through it, through town, it's 45, 50 miles per
Yeah.
hour. They're not
Yeah.
stopping to look.
I think too, we at least have to give them the option of fixing the appearance of their building. Because some of them are and they're only gonna get worse, right?
and more
And-
expensive.
And more expensive.
It struck me when I was looking at the mock-up of Second Street, when you had just like the outline of the buildings,
Yeah,
there's nothing, they looked pretty good.
Yeah.
When they were cleaned up and don't have the signs falling off and so you could work with that downtown if they were just, some coats of paint and some.
I know that there's been a number of business owners that have come up to us and said, we really need new siding or we need XYZ. We just haven't had a way to help them yet. I think, I mocked Gaylord's facade program and maybe I shouldn't have. But the only reason I did is because it's not enough.
but I agree with you, it's not enough money to.
It's not enough money. I mean, you gotta, and maybe we only do 2 a year. Whoever applies first, whichever one we deem the most viable at that time. Maybe that's who they read themselves out and we say, these are the 2 that we're doing. We're gonna allocate $35,000 each. A $70,000 project is probably more likely than whatever the 10,000 that they were giving out. And then, you don't let them off the hook, but you say, if you own the building for 10 years, we will forgive that over time. If you sell it early, then you owe that money back to us as an EDA. And we have done that. We're on the lien of their property. They can't get out of it.
So could we get an idea what some of those projects might cost before we submit our budget? But
Yeah.
maybe our budget request and, I know how much people in council like red ink, so we might not get it, but we could ask for more.
But that's where, like you said, I'd love to just talk to one of those construction guys and say, hey, man,
Uh-huh.
if somebody redoes a facade in the front, except running it,
And 2024 might be a good time to do it because we're gonna have some businesses that are stressed anyway downtown. So if you say, hey, the city's got this, EDA's got this program, we're trying to.
And like you
support
said, even if you
those
just work at one
businesses.
block at a time, you know what I mean? Like my building, warehouse, Doug, the building next to me, which I have no idea what that guy's ever gonna do with it.
That's,
And then Civil Interiors,
Oh,
Who?
Jerry Krebs. Is that
right,
the one,
right next to Doug, in between Sibley Interiors and,
oh, that's right, I forgot there's that in between there.
yeah.
Yeah, oh. Yeah. And then there's the Honno's still on the one on that corner,
Mhm.
it's not terrible, but it should be,
The roof is shot.
is it? Yikes,
That's cool.
it's a cool building, I know.
Oh, the old,
Car dealership.
car dealership. That building is really cool.
Yes,
But I think it has a lot of
A lot of money would be put into it.
yikes.
Like, it's one of those things where do you invest that much money or do you?
Or do you like the motel, does it just sit there forever because somebody pays the taxes and says, well, it's good enough, you know, and how do you fight that too?
Yeah. So let's just pretend that they come back and they say, well, every facade's 100,000. What do we want to ask from city council?
I think that, you know, like I said, the business owner's gotta have some skin in the game too,
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
you know, if it's 100,000, they should be able to put in half of it.
I agree.
I mean, that should update their building. I mean, it should drive up, I mean, at least their value of the building, you hope.
Yeah,
you know.
Long term, for sure it should.
So you're asking how much we request?
Yeah,
So by beginning of August, end of
yeah,
August?
we've got time.
Okay.
I just want to kind of have
Are we
a,
meeting in July?
I don't know. I just know that everyone gets so busy. I know last year in July, we were like, I think August and July, we just didn't,
August, we've almost never met.
yeah, because August gets too crazy.
I just know that usually after Farm City, I usually disappear for a week.
Yeah, I think everyone does. And by August, I'm like every week, you guys, I'm out of state.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not, yeah, it's fun. I love it.
Yeah, if we could figure out someone to talk to though, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Cause we would kind of need to do that before August to have some
Yeah,
general
I would, like I
ideas.
said, you and I,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that, cause then you can ask more of the construction type questions, you know, what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
you'd understand the lingo, which I have no
Sure.
idea about, you know what I mean?
Sure, but yeah, we should do that kind of,
Before the next meeting.
yeah,
I think maybe we should try to shoot for a July meeting and see who's around. It's not saying we're
Yeah.
not gonna be around.
Sure.
right.
Okay. Are you thinking like, you know, asking for an additional 50,000,
I think it-
75,000?
I was thinking if we could do 100, you know, 52, if you
You
could
can
do
ask
two
for it.
businesses.
250,000. And here's the thing, you could also ratchet back on everything else. So really, we're only asking for an additional $20,000-$30,000.
True, because we probably don't need to, then we wouldn't be doing the special building project. So.
And I think it's something too that the business owners have been asking about. And again, if the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership writes the grant for us and we get it and we receive additional money, then we can go all out.
Mhm.
But I think it really comes down to the business owner also has to have skin in the game.
Right.
They've got to also
For
want it.
sure.
And you gotta have a business owner who really wants to do it. you
Yeah.
know? And
That
sometimes
wants to
I
fill
think
out the
that's-
application.
It'll be a big investment, yeah.
Someone that wants to fill out the application that has a general interest of bettering Winthrop.
Would Rev, what's the scope of that exactly? Would they have any guidance on how important revitalizing our downtown would be? Because in my mind, just thinking about it, my very uneducated mind on EDA matters, seems pretty important. Because if we don't do it, if the downtown dies, well, then it's just totally a bedroom community.
Yeah, I think it'll focus more on, what's more viable. We touched on that in the last EDA meeting, but the viability of a business is more important almost than what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
trying to prop up businesses that we know are gonna have stiff competition.
Yes.
What is the demand that is currently in Winthrop and how can your business flourish by supplying that demand? People like to communicate at bars and drink libations, right? But if prohibition comes through and we no longer have drinking, well, his business plan is no longer fun, right? He's gonna sell pop. So I just think that being a little bit more strict about that stuff is gonna be really important.
Oh, that's right, they have library
Strict about
stuff.
what's,
So they can come in.
Yeah,
Who was
Mandy,
it?
it was Mandy and a couple of kids, it's like, yeah,
They can come up.
I don't know. They just There's something, or usually they have, that's right.
I think they have it in the new library readers. Rare clubby readers, I don't know what it's called.
So what do you want to adjourn?
Yeah, we can adjourn, but definitely a July meeting, we can
July
find some
meeting, yeah.
information out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's worth it.
so do you want to contact
I
Cal
just,
just to see,
Like
I got a
Facebook
construction?
message.
yeah, it's just Facebook message here, so.
Okay.
She gets back.
And then that way you and I can set up a time to meet them or,
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
really interesting to see who they went for,
Yeah,
because they did a lot of work on that. I bet you should tell me how much you put into it. Ballpark.
yeah. But it'd be nice, like I said, if him and I could take a couple pictures of some different buildings
Yeah.
and say, just kind of give me a ballpark.
because realistically, I mean, if you're thinking about facade grants for like the business district,
Yeah,
how many buildings do you even have that are owner occupied? I mean, you've got, you know, landlords, but I don't know if they're always gonna wanna
They're
sink all their
gonna-
money into it.
more money into it. And then I think at some point too, we've got to discuss what we are gonna allow
Right.
for the
Yeah.
grant. You know,
Yeah.
if we're not gonna allow, I don't know.
But I mean, Haas building it still looks pretty good.
Yeah,
And B&R just refinished theirs.
right. You know, I was thinking, and I know, does Uncle Charlie need any help? Do they want to do anything? Does Doug, like you
You
said,
know, succession planning, that's one I don't know how you approach
Yeah.
that, but, he's just at an age where
right,
he should be thinking about that.
right.
And that's the kind of thing you don't want to lose. in town.
No, it's a very little business.
And I think I think it probably is and could be for somebody.
Right, especially
But I-
since Gaylord lost their florist over there too a
So
few
I
years
don't
ago,
I don't know if maybe he's got a great plan in place, but it kind of doesn't seem like
A lot of
his
people
mom
don't.
is still doing all of his
Yeah, a lot of
deliveries.
people don't. That's just what it is.
Right,
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
you know,
But maybe we should put that on the agenda too, because I know you and I kind of talked about that we should probably hit the streets for the succession planning and talking to these businesses and start lining like maybe 2 businesses a month up or something to talk to them. Give
yeah.
them a heads up why we're talking to them.
And Rev will make you do that too,
Oh, good.
just an FYI. That's why I'm saying you need more than one person, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
backside of that is you survey every single business that's registered
Oh, wow.
in this town. So you have a business in your garage, we're gonna come find you.
Right? Because the gal that moved across the street from us, she must be doing nails out of her house.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, because I'm like, man, there's a lot of cars parked in there. So then my wife kind of asked, she's a stay-at-home mom.
Sure.
So she can do that.
Yeah.
Where the kids are there,
Yeah, and cities have gotten kind of a bad name about mixed use. I don't care. I'll just go on record. I think that if people can walk to you and it makes you successful, so be it. Because maybe at some point, that nail person will say, maybe I should just open a storefront in downtown.
Yeah, maybe I'm tired of having people come to my house.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
That does happen.
we are there.
Yeah.
We are there. Yep, I'm there. I'm there already. I'm sick of people coming into the house.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, if I could figure a way to make a piano portable, I would.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those things where we didn't think it would really, but I just hate it. Ding dong. And then the dogs go wild.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing too, is when it's all the unexpected stuff I can imagine. Or like me, where the piano teacher that teaches my daughter says, I really don't like you